when I hear you say, making time for working out or for, fitness, I mean, it is a little, the stress comes to mind, it's like, gosh, I also beat myself up because, I didn't get my cardio in that day, or
It's never enough.
It's not. I mean, ultimately, gosh, I'd love to be exercising 7 days a week. That would be ideal,
Right.
and that, I don't get anywhere near that. So
I think it's important to acknowledge mental fatigue versus physical fatigue, because I will also beat myself up when I come home and I'm too tired to do something. I'll think, well, how dare you? You sat at your desk or you sat in your car all day. You didn't do anything, Jamie. So how could you possibly be tired? But mental fatigue, in my opinion, can actually be more taxing than a physical fatigue. Roughly 80% of the population is unsuccessful with a consistent exercise routine. So it's no surprise that obesity is on the rise and therefore disease is on the rise. And what's more disturbing is that men are nearly 30% more successful with a consistent exercise routine than women. Why is that? Well, that's why we're here on this channel to talk about the challenges and obstacles that women face that prevent us from being successful in the fitness space. And later, we're going to talk to fitness expert and founder of ZeroSweatFitness, Greg Burwell, to talk about why it's imperative that we change the way we look at fitness altogether. Guys, let's talk about what a typical day looks like for you. I know me personally, I can beat myself up on a regular basis about just about anything, but definitely when I feel like I don't have time or enough time to fit a regular exercise routine in, it can become pretty intense. So let's take a look at what our different days look like. And if you don't mind, Tanya, we'll start with you.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, I get up and start my day, with, as you know, as a real estate agent, my day can go a bunch of different ways and it can change quickly. I can get a call midday from someone who would love to see a property that just went on the market, and sometimes you have to do it quickly so that it doesn't go off the market. So if I don't get my workout in the morning, I have learned over the years, I'm probably not going to do it. I'm either exhausted at the end of a long day because, we get up and either, are negotiating or preparing for the day, doing market analysis, the things we have to do at our office. And then we're out with clients, hopefully showing property or going to a closing or doing a listing appointment. And then, something else may come up, as I mentioned. And so, my day can go many different directions. And if I don't get that workout in before then, 9.9 times out of 10, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
And, I can plan on it. And even if something doesn't come up, it's unexpected. By the end of the day, a lot of times I'm exhausted. And then, it's time to make dinner and try to enjoy our evening after a long day of work. So certainly don't feel like doing it then. And as much as I'd like to say I'm committed to it, sometimes it just doesn't happen. So I have learned I have to do it in the morning, at least, how I've planned it for many years, and get it out of the way to be able to get it in. So yeah, my day can be very busy and very exhausting. And so yeah, at the end of the day or midday, it just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. And I think I can definitely relate to that, not just because of real estate, but I think as women, we learn from a very early age to prioritize everyone else around us, and their needs and their demands. And so it's very quickly lost that we need to prioritize our own health. So that makes perfect sense. Sarah, okay, remind me again what you do for a living. You say engineer, I just go, I'm so impressed.
So specifically, I work for Forna, which is a supply chain consulting firm. So anything inside of a distribution center. So with my job specifically, going out and assessing sites and coming up with solutions of the different technologies to put into it. So part of my job is a decent amount of travel, which leads to an unpredictable schedule. So specifically with working out, probably 2 weeks out of the month I'll be traveling. So it's hard to get a routine, especially when you're not knowing what days you're traveling, etc., things like that. And then when you're on these work trips, it's usually a team dinner afterwards, and then you're getting up early for the next day. And it's a new environment, and you're trying to figure out, does the hotel have a gym? I don't want to run into my coworkers.
That's a good point. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what? Your fitness attire, it
Right.
can often be a factor, right?
Yeah.
Because it's spandex. And
That's
do you really want to run into your colleague or your boss in spandex?
And wearing a hat, or
yes, or your hair's not fixed, or you don't have your makeup on.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you start thinking about, oh, they're looking at me, which they're probably not. Things like that. But the weeks that I am here, typically I go into the office for the day, and then I try to do some social activity after work with my friends, especially when it's warm, getting outside and seeing the sun, along with just like going on a walk and try to incorporate exercise in that way. But kind of like what you were saying, after a long day, you're so tired. And I have sort of the analysis paralysis. If I feel like I can't do something 100%
for
to the
sure.
level I would like to do it, I'll just eliminate it.
If it is doing a 10-minute walk, it still could help. It's like, oh, that's, I'm just not going to do
Pointless.
it. Yeah, which is,
Yep. And
Probably
then
not
you
the
just
case.
feel like you're not doing anything, and it's like, oh, and then you beat yourself up about it. And you're like, I don't know what's happening. So trying to get over that mental barrier that consistency is more important than feeling like
Something is better than nothing.
Yeah,
and that is
yes,
something that I have
exactly.
to remind myself
Me
of.
too.
Because you're right. If it isn't this big goal that we set out for ourselves, if we can't achieve that, then it's like we failed.
yeah, it's
Point
100%
blank.
or nothing.
Exactly.
And
yes.
it's for
We're
sure.
programmed that way.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, so I'm curious as to what you think about or what you feel when you hear finding time for exercise. Because I know me personally, speaking of what we were just talking about, is instantly I will feel compunction or guilt because I'll know that I did not prioritize. Like I think we were talking about earlier before the show, I'm looking back and reflecting on the week. I did not, I think I worked out twice. And so I'm instantly like, when I think about finding time for exercise, I feel guilt, I feel stress, I feel anxiety because I've already failed in my mind. So I'm curious to know, like, is that just me? Or is this how you guys feel?
yes.
Yeah, no, I definitely resonate with that. I mean, I right now I've got my schedule is I work out, doing weights and that routine.
Oh, you're so
three,
good.
3 days a week. Well, thanks to Greg Burwell. I do that consistently, but but I want to get cardio in. I mean, I'm training to go skiing right now, and there's always something. I mean, we need to do. I want to do cardio as well. So, that's you've got your weight training, and then you need more time to get your cardio in.
Right.
And so yeah, I mean, and that's hard, and I also half the time have to do some sort of physical therapy, which takes time too.
You rehabbing it?
There's 54, so it happens. And so, to fit all that in. And so when I hear you say, making time for working out or for, fitness, I mean, it is a little, the stress comes to mind, it's like, gosh, I also beat myself up because, I didn't get my cardio in that day. Or
It's never enough.
It's not. I mean, ultimately, gosh, I'd love to be exercising 7 days a week. That would be ideal,
Right.
and that, I don't get anywhere near that. So, yeah, it is. It's hard. It's
So we set
stressful.
this expectation of, the ultimate would be to exercise 7 days a week. Then we don't achieve it, so we're constantly feeling failure.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, being very routine-based as a person, I try to fit it into my routine of, I think this time is the best time, and I think some of the difficulties is being able to adapt to changes, and it's regardless of not it fit my routine schedule that I thought I wanted to do, it's like making that mental adjustment.
And being flexible.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And as I'm hearing us talk about, sort of how we feel at the end of the day, I think it's important to acknowledge mental fatigue versus physical fatigue, because I will also beat myself up when I come home and I'm too tired to do something. I'll think, well, how dare you? You sat at your desk or you sat in your car all day. You didn't do anything, Jamie. So how could you possibly be tired? But mental fatigue, in my opinion, can actually be more taxing than a physical fatigue. Sometimes physical fatigue makes me feel good.
Yeah,
I
sure.
feel like,
Yeah, I did something.
I did something. Yeah, but the mental fatigue, it just is
That's very true.
negative.
It's almost hard. It's almost more difficult. I agree with that.
Yeah. Let's talk about sharing a moment where a particular moment or a particular story that stands out in your mind where we've tried very hard and intended to prioritize fitness, but then failed again. Like, is there something that stands out in your mind as time being one of our biggest obstacles in life? And sadly, we don't have a mom sitting here on the couch. I don't think any of us are moms, although I say I'm your mom all the time. I've adopted that title. But I think about moms when I think about this, and I think, good grief, that alone, being a mother, whether it be one child or 4 children like my mom had, that is a full-time job. And I can't imagine the stress of trying to manage time in that sense. But with our 3 different careers here, there's a number of times I can think back where I just beat myself up because I definitely set it as a priority and I started out doing well, and then eventually life happened. Is there a particular moment in time that you guys can think of where you were like, oh, I was so hopeful and I still failed?
Yeah, I mean, just recently that happened. Again, I've mentioned I'm training to go skiing, trying to amp up my fitness level for that. And, I was going to start getting more cardio in and really, doing several different things to mix it up. And I was, I've got a month and a half or 2 months or whatever it was. And, I'm ready, I'm going to do this. And I was excited about it. Like I actually enjoy it when I'm doing it. And after I've done it, I feel good. But, again, I was like, okay, on this day, this time I'm going to do it. That day goes by and I didn't get it in. So the next day I'm like, all right, I'm going to get it in today. Same thing happens, something happens and get in. And now talk about feeling guilty. It's like, oh my gosh, I have this plan and I really want to get fit for this trip. And
I failed again.
And I didn't, I failed. I didn't do it. And so I've recently figured out, like, okay, probably what I'm going to have to do, which has been working a little bit better, is the days that I work out with Greg in the morning, from 7:45 to 8:45, he comes to my gym and it's like, let yourself out. Because if I go downstairs, my gym's on the 3rd floor. If I go downstairs, coffee's going to call me. Like I'm going to want to get my coffee. I'm going to want to do my routine in the morning. And I don't want that risk being sidetracked. Yeah. So you go on and, I'll see you on Wednesday, and I just go right to it and get on. So if I can make that happen where I just do it after that workout, because that I've already planned to do, I'm already in the gym, distractions, that seems to work. But that's how difficult it seems to be. Is like, my gosh, I can't even say, okay, on the other days, I'm definitely going to do this. Well, I'm definitely going to try, but I don't know that it's going to happen.
Right.
And I'm determined to make it happen. So you have to figure it out and find a way. And so that's recently what I've been dealing with.
Yeah. What about you, Sarah?
I think it's a problem that I keep just re-experiencing, especially with travel and going to a new place in a new environment. And with a schedule that's not really fixed and dinners and things like that, I often feel disappointed leaving, where I'm like, I really wanted to move my body. I've just sat all week. But I felt like I couldn't find the time. So it's a little bit of mix of, the hotel doesn't have a gym or things like that, or they don't have the equipment that I thought they did. Or if they do, it's like really heavy dumbbells. I'm like, I can't lift it. What so I think I'm just trying to have more grace with myself and just try to play more YouTube videos and do it inside of my room, just kind of on a towel, and try to just at least move my body and give myself that grace of, at least we're moving and we're trying to keep that
good
mental.
And are you able to do that pretty consistently?
To the level that I want to, probably not.
Of course.
But
arguably, as a woman,
yes.
you may never reach that. Because we'll only keep moving it up.
Yes, exactly.
Sure.
But it's also trying to get your brain to take a break from what you're constantly always thinking about in work and things like that. And And you don't want to, feel like, especially on those trips, it's like I'm going to bed thinking about what I need to do tomorrow. And I never really take that mental break. And it's really exhausting and tiring. And then by the time I get home, I don't want to do anything. So.
Except check out in front of the TV.
Yeah.
I'm speaking. That's how I escape my own mind. Absolutely. Yeah. Watch something brainless.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
That's why we all scroll.
Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed to admit this, but yes, I have become a scroller. And I used to teach Sarah ballet when she was growing up. And I used to watch the kids from afar and think, oh my gosh, how do they sit there and just do this on their phones? And I'm embarrassed to admit that I have become a scroller, and it is an easy way to check out. I don't even know, I can't even tell you half the time. I don't even watch it long enough to know what it was about. I'm just scrolling and looking at the images, and it's just mindless. So that's terrible. I could be doing anything but that.
And the time goes by so fast.
Yeah,
On a you blink and it's been 30 minutes.
Yeah, unbelievable.
That's why it's addicting.
It is.
Yes, it's
It
an
is.
addiction. For
Well, and
sure.
that says something, because we need that mental checkout. That's
Yeah.
probably not what we need to do it.
Not the proper mental
That's
checkout,
proper
but it is a mental checkout.
But it's one we're going, it's our go-to.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, speaking of content and media, we're bombarded by it, we're scrolling. Have you guys tried any of like the fitness fads or the new concepts of fitness? Try this, try that. Have you tried any of those things? Is there something you've tried?
I don't know. I don't know if this would fall into what you're talking about, but like a friend of mine it's a ski machine. It's called an aero ski, and because I'm training, it's actually, whether it's a fad or not, it's awesome.
Okay.
Mimic skiing, and doing that. And so, I mean, I guess, I've bought things over the years of like, oh, that's supposed to help with your balance and do this and that. And I buy it and use it maybe a few times, and then it sits over in the corner. And then I do, like the traditional tried and true, the TRX and the weights and those are always gonna, but yeah, I mean, I've probably bought into some of those things at times and think, I've bought, like their dance type, workout dance type things that I think I would enjoy. And so I've bought those, and then, maybe done it a couple times, and then end up with the same thing, and it sits on the shelf. So yeah, definitely. I don't know about the current ones, but over the years, I certainly have. Yeah.
What about you, Sarah?
I feel like I've definitely bought into the lifestyle of these like influencers. To a certain extent of like, I see them doing this class and I'm like, oh, that looks like a lot of fun. I want to try it. And then also, I guess it's like two-parted with it. So you see like these influencers and you're like, oh, I want like that lifestyle like them.
They make it look so glamorous.
Yes, like with the cute workout set, and you're like, I want to buy that. I want to feel good.
Oh, it's all about the workout outfit.
Yes, I'll feel this way.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly. If I can look like this.
And I think that's part of it, is also like just the shopping with it. You're like, oh, if I look like this, if I do this and that. So yeah.
Buy this outfit and belong to this membership. Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. There's so many pressures and influences coming at us from all directions. It's no wonder that we constantly feel, and the stats are showing that we are failing, unfortunately. And I think the simple way to look at it is the math, because one thing that we've all said numerous times is that we are stuck sitting and doing nothing, because that's what our jobs require us to. We have to sit to do what we need to do for our jobs and to make money, whether it's sit in our car or sit at our desk or sit at a table, whatever it is, a conference table. We are sitting and being inactive. And I think this is why what Greg is about to tell us about, and why he has created Zero Sweat Fitness, is that we do have to start looking at fitness completely different, because the math doesn't work. It doesn't matter what gimmick we try or what exercise program we latch onto. Life is always going to life, and it's always going to interfere. So I think his whole concept, I don't want to give too much of it away because I know he's going to call into the show, and maybe now's the perfect time to tell us, how do we look at fitness completely different in order to tackle those obstacles that we all face? So what do you say? Should we bring Greg in?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Let's see if Greg is on the phone.
Hello.
Hey, Greg, welcome. We were just sitting here talking about one of the biggest obstacles we as women have in reference to being successful at a consistent exercise routine, and that was the lack of time. And we were talking about how the math just will never work in our favor because we have to make money, we have to work, and so we are sitting most of the time when we do that. And I thought, well, gosh, this is exactly what Greg is always talking about, is capitalizing on that time. So could you talk to us a little bit about Zero Sweat Fitness? What is that? That sounds like an oxymoron to me.
Yeah.
Like, aren't you supposed to sweat? Isn't that the goal?
You would think so. That would be the goal. But since, as you indicated, 80% of the people fail to meet minimum requirements for fitness, we have to look at it differently because we're tied up, we're too busy. And as you indicated, we spend far too much time sitting and being sedentary. So we have to look at it differently. The approach that Zero Sweat has is, let's look at it from the perspective of NEAT, which is an acronym for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And what that simply means is anything other than exercise, going to a gym. So it's movement based. So put simply, Zero Sweat Fitness is a movement based revolution. The concept is, even if you are sedentary, to get you to move while you're seated. There are a lot of people who can't just get up and walk to a water fountain during the day because they may be an employee of a call center. You can't do that. So what can we do while we are at our desk to increase our NEAT or to increase movement? So there are specific things that you can do while there so that you can actually increase your metabolism and your total energy expenditure. So that's the whole concept, to increase NEAT, which is approximately 15% of our basal metabolic rate.
What does that mean? You lost me for a second.
Total metabolism, BMR, basal metabolic rate, consists of about 70% of our total energy expenditure of all the calories. So what I mean by that is just sitting, sleeping, your body consumes most of those calories through inactivity. So 70% of the calories burned will be as a result of just the body functions, i.e.
Okay,
the
just
heart
existing.
beating, breathing, just existing. Exactly. To increase your basal metabolic rate, you need to increase skeletal muscle or your lean body mass or hypertrophy. If you have greater lean body mass, you will have a higher basal metabolic rate. So even while sitting, you will burn more calories.
Okay, so how do we do that? Is that just, I mean, because I think instantly, oh, that means resistance training. If we're trying to increase muscle or lean body mass, as you say, then we need to lift weights.
Well, not necessarily. We can create resistance through just gravity, and gravity works in one direction, always down. So if we are opposing gravity, we're technically engaged in resistance training. So for example, if we are at the edge of our chair and we are doing a chair dip going up and down, that is resistance training.
A chair dip going up it, so meaning for triceps?
Yes.
So you're just
up and down.
Okay.
That is resistance.
Okay.
We're also burning calories. So if we look at fitness differently, we can burn an extra 80 to 100 calories an hour while we are sedentary. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Instead of just sitting there and being still, we're active. We're doing what we call active sitting. So
Okay,
we're
so-
moving.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So the whole objective here is to take all of the time where we're sitting still and eliminate it. So we can still be sitting, because we have to do that for our jobs, but creating small movements that add up to big impact while we're sitting.
Correct. It could be as simple as kicking your leg out or tapping your fingers, just moving instead of being as still as possible. The objective is to keep moving. The problem is most of us are not accustomed to doing that. There are people who are encoded genetically to move. They fidget all the time. So another way of looking at it is to fidget more often. If we create a habit, and that usually occurs over 30 days, then it becomes more intuitive. But for now, we have to think about it consciously that we have to move more. So whether that is at your desk, in an office, in your car, or at home on your couch.
Or in an airplane if you're traveling.
Definitely,
Car
while
ride,
you're
you know.
traveling.
Oh, we're in a lot of car rides.
Do this while you're driving. It makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I bet, so I think of myself as a fidgeter, but I also know and am aware that I'm a hyper-focused person. So if I am, buckled down doing a market analysis or something, like I'm so hyper-focused on that, I know I'm not fidgeting.
Yeah.
But if I'm just sitting, at an airport, I will fidget. But if my brain is focused on something. So the idea, I guess, of Zero Sweat is to train ourselves to move all the time, even when we are hyper-focused on our project or whatever it is at work. Am I correct?
That is absolutely correct because it's a low intensity type of activity. And that's what we want. And we want to do that over time. Most of the time we spend in sedentary capacity. So make use of that time. So if you say, hey, I don't have time to go to the gym, I don't have time to do this or that, we do have time to just move more because that's something we can do. It could be a subtle movement. It could be a more aggressive movement. But the key is to keep moving. And again, you can be in your chair or at your desk and you can keep moving. You don't have to approach, say, of a Fitbit where you have to move in a linear fashion in order to generate that because most of the fitness watches are geared for linear movement and not, they can't really comprehend what you're doing at your desk if you're moving, if you're fidgeting. So we want to go ahead and develop more activity while we're sitting.
Interesting. How is that resonating with you guys? Because I know my brain immediately starts poking holes in everything and says, oh, but that's not enough. That's not going to make a difference. But then when I really start thinking about the number of hours when I am sitting still, I think, well, but that does make sense mathematically.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it actually is sort of a exciting, enlightening thing because I do think, like you said, I mean, I'm sitting a lot at the computer and, I stand up after 2 hours of sitting and I'm stiff and it takes me a second. Crazy. And the thought of like, yeah, if I just focus on, even doing this for
Any movement.
doing this, doing something,
Engaging my abs.
and doing something, I feel like it would make a difference. And maybe it doesn't completely replace my one workout or my two, whatever. It doesn't replace that, but I could see it making a difference if you did that throughout the day. And even like, when I'm at my home and I work down at my dining room table a lot of times, and I've got an island that's taller, and so I've been thinking, which falls into this, like stand up. I don't have a stand-up desk.
Yeah, a lot of people
but,
are using those.
Stand up and work there for a little bit. Move around, and so that falls into that. Like to train our brain to do that all the time. If you could train your brain to do that and constantly be moving, I definitely could see that making a difference. That would be great.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think a lot of it is retraining your brain.
It is.
I feel like I'm so wired to think if I'm not doing the maximum and I'm so exhausted and tired, then I didn't work out. So, yeah, definitely like the whole zero sweat, like working out, if I don't get a sweat, I start thinking, did I work out?
It wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And things like that. So I think part of it is just rewiring your brain to take those opportunities to get some more movement into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's a good feeling to think that I could do this. And even if it's a day that I can't get my, or I don't do my weights and I can't get my cardio in, to think that if I do that throughout the day, all day, I have done something.
Yeah.
And I have probably made a difference. It's beats sitting all day without doing anything. Absolutely.
I feel like it
Yeah.
would be a confidence booster.
Yeah.
Like when I hear you talking about it, I'm like, yeah, like if I did this all day long, I think instead of feeling defeated at the end of the day and like I'd failed, I would feel like, wow, I moved all day.
It was
And it wasn't anything that interfered with my schedule.
Yeah.
Or the unexpected client call or whatever.
And I didn't have to set aside a whole hour and it weren't given specific time. I can do this anytime, like in the car, like, he said, and wherever you are.
Yeah. And to be honest, the idea of not sweating is very appealing.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but it's a lot of work, to make sure your hair looks right. And, you're going to meet a client and you drop your stuff and go work out. You're not going to want to go meet a client after that. It's just not realistic.
Yeah.
So I love this idea. And I guess this is why Greg calls it the movement revolution, because I really can see how this would be a revolution, because there are a lot of people who don't even pretend to make an attempt at regular exercise routines. And I definitely think that is something that they could do easily. And no sweat, no extra time. I think it could make a huge impact on those horrible stats that I was talking about earlier with obesity climbing and disease climbing and us being, 30% less successful than men at being fit. And that's unacceptable. So
Yeah, well, what just popped in my mind when you were talking about that is, like, men, if they go to the gym, typically, and they work out, they jump in the shower and in 5 minutes, they're ready to go back to work.
Right.
That doesn't work that way for us. You got to shower. It takes whatever, probably minimum 30 minutes to an hour.
Right, and then you gotta dry your
hair, do your
style
makeup, to get ready. I mean, so it's a different ballgame, which may be a small part of that situation. Is like
100%
it's so
agree.
much easier for a guy to work out in the middle of the day.
Yes.
And it doesn't take near the time, because it's not just the workout time. We have the getting back ready time.
It's a whole production.
It is a whole reduction. That's right.
And we don't all have glam squads, I would love one.
So the idea of the zero sweat and being able to get exercise along the way, but doesn't require you to go shower and redo your hair and redo your makeup and all those things, like,
Right.
that's appealing.
I love
For
it.
sure.
I love it. So I think one thing that we're going to do with this channel is talk about all the challenges, and we've sort of introduced and teased a little bit about some of the other challenges we face, like the hair and the makeup and all of that. But at the end of each episode, I think we should talk about what exactly those movements look like and give everyone a little taste of what we can start to do with those moments of sitting still and changing them to becoming a more healthy, fit version of ourselves. Yeah. No sweat. Yeah. Well, ladies, it has been an absolute pleasure getting to talk to you and connect with other people who have the same obstacles and challenges as so many of us. So thank you for joining us. And Greg, if you're still there, thank you so much. I can't wait to hear more about your movement revolution with Zero Sweat Fitness, because I find it very inspiring and encouraging. And I'm really hoping that many women out there across the board will have the same feeling when they hear about this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Hey everyone, welcome back to Zero Sweat Fitness. Today, we're diving into a super simple yet powerful way to stay active and healthy without hitting the gym. It's called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT. NEAT includes all the little movements we do throughout the day that can really add up in terms of calorie burn and overall health. So if you're looking to stay active while working from home, running errands, or just hanging out, this video and channel is for you. Let's get moving. First up, we have some easy desk stretches you can do while sitting at your computer. Start by reaching both arms up over your head, then lean to one side for a nice stretch along your side. Hold for a few seconds, then switch sides. Repeat this a few times throughout your day. Next, let's do some standing calf raises. Simply stand up, rise onto your toes, and slowly lower back down. This is great to do while you're waiting for your coffee to brew or while chatting on the phone. Shoulder rolls are a quick way to release tension. Roll your shoulders forward in a circular motion and then reverse the direction. You can do this anytime you need a break from your screen. Wall sits are fantastic for engaging your leg muscles. Find a wall, slide down into a sitting position with your back against the wall, and hold for 20 to 30 seconds. You'll really feel the burn. While seated, lift one leg straight out in front of you and hold for a few seconds, and then switch legs. This is an easy way to keep your leg muscles active while you're sitting down. For each of these movements, make sure to maintain good posture. For the calf raises, keep your core engaged and avoid locking your knees. When doing wall sits, keep your knees at a 90-degree angle and your back flat against the wall. Remember, it's better to do a movement correctly at a lower intensity than to push too hard and risk injury. Now let's talk about how to fit these movements into your daily routine. Try doing desk stretches every time you finish a task or take a quick break. Calf raises can be done while brushing your teeth, and shoulder rolls are great whenever you feel a little stiff. The key is to make these movements a natural part of your day. These small movements might not seem like much, but they can really add up. They help increase your daily calorie expenditure, improve circulation, and engage muscles that might otherwise be inactive. Over time, these little activities contribute to a better overall health and can even help with weight management. Now, let's dive into a question from one of our viewers. How often should I be doing these movements throughout the day? Great question. Ideally, try to incorporate them every hour or so. Remember, more movement equals more calories burned. Win-win. Even just a few minutes of movement can make a big difference over the course of a day. Keep those questions coming in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer more in the next video. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click the bell to get notified when I post new videos. Give this video a thumbs up if you're ready to boost your NEAT, and share it with a friend who could use a little extra activity in their day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.